Okay, so we're welcoming Brandon to our club as our guest speaker this morning. So Brandon Burbank, he's an entrepreneur, mental health speaker, and mental health advocate. He was born and raised in Whatcom County in the state of Washington. I kind of looked it up, and it's a beautiful place. It's got skiing, it's got a creamery. I'm sure Brandon knows all about the city where he was raised. And he has a degree in art and sciences with the business classes. Brandon is also an author of the book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. Brandon specializes in doing talks on mental health, speaking from a peer-to-peer perspective. And the title of his talk today is Embracing Your Mental Health. Be free like you were born to be. And here's Brandon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Les, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you so much, Signal Hill Rotary Club, for this wonderful invitation to give you guys a keynote speech presentation that focuses primarily around mental health. I'm really excited because this is a topic that I'm really passionate about, that it has had a huge impact in my personal life and my journey thus far. And so my goals today are to help give you guys awareness and help give you guys more of a transformative approach to recognizing that your abilities to change your circumstances, if or you know somebody who has gone through mental health challenges such as myself. So with that being said, with this journey, we're going to be talking a little bit about myself so that I can give you guys a better background of what's to know more about me and really understand more about what it's like to be going through different challenges with mental health and how to come out on top through the transformative efforts and the lifestyle changes that I've made in my challenges that have, really forced me to become the best version of myself. But I guess I'm going to talk really primarily about in my childhood and my development. Growing up in Whatcom County, it's helped me grow and thrive, and also being able to be really somebody that was just always learning in competitive atmosphere with just a lot of positive family experiences, and being able to travel to Central America and speak Spanish with my grandmother who's from Central America. And then also just like I excelled in school, like with a 3.5 GPA. And I'm giving you all this out of context so that you can understand more about who Brandon Burbank is, because I know none of you have never met me before, but my point is I have a lot to really add value, hopefully, that gives a lot of people perspective when challenged around mental health and mental illness. So as we transition out of my high school experiences, that's where I started to really become more tripped up, find experiences where I felt lost, where I felt disconnected, where I felt like I didn't have the connectivity, the connections that I wanted in my life, or that I really needed to be a happy and sustainable person. And so because of that, it really caused a lot of challenges in my young adult life, as well as post-high school study abroad trip. And so to give you some more context, I did a study abroad trip back in 2015 after I graduated from high school. Now, I successfully funded this trip. I did the trip funding through a lot of my job as working at a grocery store, as well as just a lot of other doing sushi as a sushi chef, and then also selling cookies door to door as an entrepreneurial venture, because I was passionate about travel and also being able to try something new that's more non-traditional path versus just going to college. So I wanted to study abroad. And so because of that, I was able to reap the rewards of success at an early age of 19 and being able to study abroad by myself and paying for the trip by myself. So that was something that I'm passionate about, and being able to speak the language. However, this is where it gets really more difficult. There was times when I got back post-study abroad trip when I ended up having to go through a lot of challenges with my mental health. And that's where a lot of people can relate to that specific avenue, that the experiences. It might not be 100% direct, but still, there's a statistic out there to give you guys. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 50 million Americans are living with a mental illness. 50 million. So if you think about it from this context, we have the whole population of America is like over 300 million. So if you look around, or if you possibly might know somebody who's impacted by a mental illness or a mental health challenge, you can really empathize with that specific target demographic, that population here in America alone, because that's just, there's a lot of people outside of the country that are struggling as well. However, I would include myself in that statistic as well, because of the fact that at the age of 19, I was diagnosed with a condition called bipolar disorder. So if you don't know what bipolar disorder is, I'll give you some context. It's like a manic, well, no, it's a condition that is like a behavioral health disorder. And I'm not going to get too into depth, but I'm giving you out of purpose so that you can really understand me and really understand the struggles and implications that are existing with mental health challenges, those that are struggling with their mental health and that need direction. So it basically, my take on it is, when I was diagnosed at 19, I was going through a lot of ups and downs, and these challenges really forced me to grow. They forced me to recognize how I have to learn how to manage something that might be like more of a challenge and a struggle for me at the moment, but also recognizing that it's a lifelong journey. Now, to go more into depth about this perspective, think about it from this standpoint. It's like you have highs and lows that happen, dramatically out of nowhere at times. And that's kind of where I've led down paths of really a lot of difficulty, adversity, affliction, where a lot of people don't really necessarily know how to work through that problem, working through that challenge. And so now here's where the good part happens, and we'll continue on. I have been dedicated. I dedicated my life to this speaking business, to being able to, transform lives and being able to give other people awareness around the topic of mental health, mental illness, and mental health condition, because it's so prevalent in our world today, whether we believe it or not, whether we see it or not, because mental health is health, even though it's not something that you're actually like, it's different than physical health, but the two, if you're able to manage a condition or a struggle with your mental health challenges, you can become so much more successful on the journey towards a happier and healthier lifestyle and a happier and healthier you. And so that's what I'm all about. I'm here to motivate and inspire you all today so that you can see how a success story, somebody who's lived a lot of different perspectives and changed his perspective to inspire other people to give back to the community, and through my services and products, and being able to give a lot of awareness and changing the conversations about how we talk about mental health. So I think that's a good synopsis to give you guys about my story, my purpose, my mission at Comeback to Success. And now I'm really excited because I get to talk to you guys about 5 basic components that will help hopefully you or somebody else that you know to inspire them. If they're on the recovery process, if they're in a specific journey that's challenging, that is related to mental health, and like a mental health journey and a mental health recovery. So with that being said, let's get into it. Let's go on this journey together. Starting with step 1, develop self-awareness. Step 2, confide in someone you trust. Step 3, take charge of your life. Step 4, accept change. Step 5, be patient for changes to come. Let's start with step 1, develop self-awareness. So to give you some more context, developing self-awareness, there's a lot of components to this that are so helpful for those that are impacted by mental illness or not. Now, I'm bringing this up because this has been a way to help me in my success and how I've been able to mature, gain wisdom through experiences. Some of the complexities about developing self-awareness include trusting your gut instincts, building a better and a stronger self-esteem. Through my adversities and trials and tribulations in my early adult life, I was able to go through these. I had the pleasure of going through these challenges alone. I had the opportunity of being able to go through these challenges and facing them without a lot of help. And because of that, I've come out stronger. I've come out more resilient, more persistent, and focused on what my objective, my purpose is in life. And it's always evolving. So my point is around developing self-awareness. There's a lot of people out there that want to be successful and that want to be like have a happier and healthier lifestyle, but it takes time, and you have to actually work through your challenges, working through your problems at a rate that's more at your own pace. Everybody's going to be running their own race. And so for me, I've been able to go through these challenges, and even though they were really like horrendously hard and testing in so many different ways, it forced me to grow, and it forced me to become the best version of myself. And I'm thankful, and even though it was a painful experiences to go through some of the challenges, it's made me who I am. And for that reason, I'm very grateful, because there's a lot of people out there that if they start to really embrace and take ownership of their challenges, there's a lot of people that can start to change their own conversations in their minds internally. And that's what's going to help give you more self-awareness to recognize what's helping you grow, what's helping you thrive, and what kind of can be like changed or corrected. To give you some more context, about over 3 years ago, I moved from Bellingham, which is where I'm at now, and in Washington State, to Seattle, Washington. I lived there for 10 months. And then I knew I wanted to move to Southern California. So as a result, I moved after being in Seattle. I moved to the Long Beach, Artesia, Cerritos area, where I had the wonderful pleasure of living there for over 2 years in the Long Beach area. This was a transformative experience for me, because it helped me through, in light of the challenges that I had to endure. It really gave me a lot of perspective to see how there's different ways of living, there's different ways of thinking, and there's different ways of approaching your struggles with your mental health or your challenges in life. I'm blessed to say that I'm still alive, that I've gone through these challenges, and I'm still able to become the best version of myself and being an inspiration and a motivation for others. So that's developing self-awareness, and that's really probably one of the most vital components that I'll talk about today, to give you some context on how I've been able to turn my lemons and turning them into lemonade. So let's move on to step 2. Confide in someone you trust. All right, so confiding in someone you trust is hard. For those of you that don't know how to do that, it's important that you learn. And it comes through trial and error. It comes through having the vulnerability to ask for help. The problem with me in my past, especially at age 19, when I was first going through these challenges with my mental health post-study abroad trip, was the fact that I was not asking for help. I was not being vulnerable with the right people. Instead, I felt like I was raised in this environment and culture that taught me to, take charge of your life by yourself all the time and not ask for help, which I've learned the hard way. It wasn't long after that, after, 6 months after studying abroad, I landed in the hospital, and then not long after with a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. So the reason why I'm painting this picture is to see how somebody like myself, who's had a successful childhood, is still susceptible to not want to reach out, or what you like to call it, suffering in silence. A lot of people do that in today's world, and it's sad. It's discouraging, because so many people out there want help, but if you don't actually ask for the help, you're never going to receive the help you need, or the level of care and support that's going to guide you. Some of the ideas to put it into context and perspective could be a coach, a mental health professional, a family member. Now, the bottom line for all of these people who you can confide with, to trust in your journey, is finding somebody that you can connect with, that's relatable, that gives you another perspective in your life, and gives you feedback that's honest and genuine, even when you don't want to hear it sometimes. I've been there. Maybe you have, hopefully you have as well. But the confiding in someone you trust part is so hard because it requires a lot of skills, mind power to ask in the right way of knowing what your needs are. So the problem with, like, for example, the youth population, kids are still learning how to communicate, articulate themselves, clarify what they want or what they need, or how to adjust their minds for their success, and still finding their purpose and challenge. So by being able to provide a lot of clarity and insight for these kids with the right mentors, with the right people who are open-minded to mental health, and recognizing that these challenges exist in today's world, and it's growing. So how do we become more of a leadership role for these kids to help allow them to help themselves and grow into the best and grow into a successful adult life? So that's step 2. Confide in someone you trust. Now, step 3, take charge of your life. Oh boy, this is good. Like, to give you some more context around my journey, I've traveled. When I was living in Seattle, Washington, the theme is take charge of your life. I was living in Seattle, Washington in 2020. We're in 2023 now. So that was 3 years ago, to give you some more perspective. And because of that journey, I was starting to recognize, wow, I've gone through already so many challenges with hospitalizations, halfway house, mental health treatment programs in Georgia, and just, working with mental health professionals to help guide me in my journey, that I started to see, well, you know what, why am I going this route? Why am I pursuing this life to pursue, success and happiness? I've always been a driven person, but through the challenges, I was starting to able to piece the pieces together and see how there's a general theme. How I always, whenever I was trying to, like, be the best version of myself, or trying to be too courageous, I always landed up in, like, the hospital, or things like that challenged my mental health and that really set me back for a long time. So taking charge of your life is so important. Now, when I was in Seattle, I started to realize, mental health, I'm a speaker. I feel like I'm really good with people. I feel like I really have a lot to say about the topic of mental health already. And I was only 23 at the time. And so I come back to Bellingham, to Western Washington University, have a great discussion with a faculty member by the name of A.R. Mann. And we discuss about some ideas on how to start a business to help change lives. And through her inspiration, she was like, well, maybe you should write a book to help give more perspective and feedback on the topic of your niche story, which is mental health and your own personal journey. As a result, it clicked with me really quickly. I just was like, you know what, this sounds like it's for me. And so with that being said, from that point on, from start to finish, it took me 1.5 years to publish my first book, titled Come Back to Success: Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. So this journey was quick in comparison to most authors, which I would say, because many authors take years to publish their first book. But the reason why I published it so quickly, number one, I had help from a wonderful friend who was able to help edit and revise. But number two, I had the passion, I had the desire, I had the purpose, I had the goals. I saw the vision, and I took charge of my life and recognized asked myself these questions: what am I going to do to get to that point, to become a published author? So taking charge of your life, there's a lot of people in this world who don't take charge of their lives and don't accept their challenges wholeheartedly. Some of the ideas around taking charge of your life include accountability. That's a big key component right there. I mean, before I accepted my diagnosis and before I accepted taking charge of my life, that component, I was lost. I was wandering. I was not willing to accept the realities of what was clear in my life, what was helping me, and what needed to be more refined or restructured for growth. So taking charge of your life, and that example really gives you more of an outline of how I've learned through moving out of my hometown in Bellingham, which is where we're at now, and being able to have different experiences, conversations with people who spark creativity in your mind, spark growth, spark changes that allows you to grow and become the best version of yourself. So my goal is, and encouragement to you today, is asking yourself these questions. How are you turning your lemons into lemonade? Now, I say this with a lot of humbleness, but also proudness. The fact that I've been able to turn my lemons into lemonade by being able to do my YouTube channel over 4 years ago and being an author, and then also rocking the stage, and hopefully rocking the stage more to come, and recognizing that it's a process. I'm having fun with what I'm doing. I love what I do because I know it's making a difference. And I know that what I say and what I have means something. It makes an impact in people's life. And so to give you some more context around my journey of living in SoCal was very authentic. You know, you got this guy from Bellingham, Washington, a small town in the state of Washington, moving to a major metropolitan city and going through these challenges, working different jobs to just like put food on the table, pay rent, and being able to be reminded all the time, constantly, this is only temporary. This is only temporary. And while I was going through these changes, it's like I'm still having like a social life and still having a balanced lifestyle, which at times needed to be corrected, and it's always ongoing. Trust me, I might sound like I know what I'm talking about, which I feel confidently that I do in a lot of things, but there's a lot of challenges that I feel like I can work on as well. Like I went on a run yesterday here locally, and I was like pondering things about my life, about like, wow, I've gone through so much, but there's always something to correct, to grow, to find changes. And so my challenge to you is to really ask yourself these types of questions about what's going to help you find success, finding your niche, and finding your own lane, taking charge of your life. I'm going to skip accepting change because of the time constraint, and we're going to go on to the last point, which is be patient for changes to come. Okay, so this is more context around my perspective of my journey with living in SoCal and how it's really challenged me, but also helped me grow to become a better, wholehearted, well-rounded individual. Picture this. Over 2 years ago, in 2021 in April, I was working for Thunder Studios, and it's a production company near Carson in Long Beach area. And my hard work and consistency paid off because I was able to make some connections with the owner, who then provided me with the opportunity to do my first speaking engagement ever. So this speaking engagement, I was pumped. I was so excited because I had so much to say. I did about a 20-minute talk. 3 people showed up. I asked myself, what did I do wrong? What's going on? Why am I not being successful? Why am I not getting to the point of success? Be patient for changes to come. Once again, that's another really thing that's taken time to develop. For anybody out there that is wanting to build success, to build a happier and healthier lifestyle, being patient for changes to come is something that allows you to recognize maybe you're not there yet, but you can certainly be there in the future. Asking yourself these types of questions about, I was asking myself, why am I not like having 10, 50 people showing up to these speaking engagements or getting paid speaking engagements? Well, it's part of the process. It's part of the time that I have to dedicate and consistency to pursue this opportunity to inspire the population around mental health. So that's another perspective to think about. We're going to wrap up with this component, which is the 5 components again. Step 1, develop self-awareness. Step 2, confide in someone you trust. Step 3, take charge of your life. Step 4, accept change, which we did not cover this time around. And the last one is step 5, be patient for changes to come. I want to ask you something. What do you need to do right now to take action for your life? Is there something that you're going through in your life or journey or that's helping you navigate through a crisis or a recovery process to help become a happier and healthier individual? my hope is that these components will help give you value and provide a lot of insight and perspective for you to change the circumstances around your life for the better. Take charge of your life. Do it. I believe in you. Go get it. Go do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Wow,
Thank you.
that's so
Now would be a
kind.
great time to open up for Q&A.
Yes. So first of all, I'd like to thank you again for speaking this very important issue. As you know already, as we know, this year, Rotary Year, our Gordon McNally, the president for Rotary International, he wants to focus our theme on mental health because his brother killed himself, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago. And I think the first step is to share your story. And it's so important. And I would argue that all of us are affected by mental health, either personally or through a family member or a friend are affected by mental health. You know, I can very briefly share my story that my uncle, he killed himself last year. He has been suffering from depression for more than a year. He did not tell anyone, only his wife knew. So by the time he died, we didn't even know that he was going through this depression crisis. And because he didn't reach out, because there was a culture of shame and sharing, he suffered and he eventually paid the ultimate price. And now I would say my aunt is paying the ultimate price of bearing the guilt. And I, you know, even for myself, you know, for all of you guys who know me pretty well, I am very outgoing, very social, very optimistic. But there was a time, I think it's 2017, I went through a period where I suffered from intense anxiety to the point that, you know, I almost considered quitting Rotary. And for those of you who know me, that's almost inconceivable because I have the Rotary symbol tattooed on my arm. I mean, that's how hardcore I am. So that just tells you no one is really immune and affects everyone. And the first step is to sharing your story. Not only does it help yourself, but also helps everyone around you say, hey, you know, this is something that we can't talk about in public. Yeah, talking about it, sharing it is really the first step. So I'm so glad you brought this up, you know, and also speaking for being patient. I am in collaboration with the district of Rotary, which has 53 clubs, I think, in our district. And there's actually a speaker bureau in our district. So I think if it's okay with you, I will submit your name and even the recording of this presentation to the district. So all the clubs over Southern California can have access to you as a very important resource, especially for this Rotary Year.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So yeah, we are a small club, but you know, Rotary is we're a network of people. So we're interconnected and that's the power. You know, we can elevate your platform and you can have further reach to a lot more people and a lot of people can benefit from your perspective. Yeah.
Thank you, Les.
You're welcome. Anyone else has any
I've
questions?
got a question. Hey, Brandon, my name's Jose. So you mentioned in number 3 about like accountability. So what kind of things do you use or suggest for people to have that accountability? I know that's really hard for people sometimes.
So what type of, if I'm understanding you correctly, what type of accountability helps?
Yeah, or what do you do for that, or what resources do you use, or how do you keep yourself accountable, or do you have someone else that does it?
Yeah, I would say just recognizing the long run and giving yourself time to see where you want to go. We're asking yourself these hard questions like, where do I want to be at 5-10 years from now? And if something that you're doing in your life right now is helping you get there, continue to encourage yourself in that respect. But if something is, you know, derailing you or helps you or doesn't help you, ask yourself this question: why am I continuing to do this habit or you know, hanging around this specific person if they're not specifically helping you on your path? Be honest with yourself about these types of questions and help yourself rather than just allowing other people to run your life and not like take ownership of your challenges and your problems. That would be my answer.
Yeah. And I have other ideas. This is ties into your second point. When you share your experience with others, that actually kind of makes you accountable automatically, because then when other people know what your goals are, when you share this with other people, they kind of hold you accountable. Say, hey, Brandon, when are you doing this? When are you publishing the book? When it's right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone
Awesome.
else?
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandon, I'm Ray. Can you hear me okay? I'm using my camera, but Les's microphone. So it's going to be a little.
Yeah, I can hear you pretty well.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Ray.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you. Well, first, thank you for sharing your story. I think it's one thing to experience difficult things, but then it's a whole nother thing to be able to use that to try and benefit others who are probably or possibly experiencing the same thing in their own lives. The question I have for you that I ask a lot of my own clients is, imagine that you've done your work perfectly in the span of your lifetime for everything that you want to achieve with what you're doing. Imagine you've done it perfectly and achieved everything that you wanted to. What is different to you? What do you see? I want to understand your vision about what is different.
What's different in what respect?
Like if you did everything and accomplished everything you wanted in what you're doing around mental health, what is the impact that you want to make? Like what is that big change? And I want to kind of understand.
Like the end goal?
Yeah, I want to understand your big vision.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that comes to mind right now is the fact that I specifically want to change the world in terms of how we talk about mental health. Now, that's a really good question you asked me, because I think about that deeply, because I'm like, if it's so many times in my past, I've had conversations with people who are challenging status quo on their mental health, breaking barriers in the mental health community. And as a society, if we can erase stigma, that comes through conversing, through creating conversations around mental health and having more people talking openly about their challenges, about their vulnerabilities. And so that's my goal. It's really because of the fact that I feel like I'm blessed. God gave me a lot of talents to articulate myself and being able to communicate effectively. I think that this could give a lot of people perspective that can help really rub off on them. So that's the end goal, because if you think about it from this standpoint, your actions speak louder than your words. So when I'm doing things like going on a run or getting ready for a meeting or doing a volunteer opportunity at my church, all these opportunities are great ways to show your character and your perspective to help inspire other people in the long run.
Awesome.
Thank you for that question.
I have another question, but I'll hold off and see if Bethany wants to jump in.
Oh, you can go.
Okay. The other question I had, in listening to your story, you went through a lot of challenge in your life, and one of the things that I noted that you were able to do in your life is change your environment radically. And I love the Pacific Northwest. Seattle is my favorite town ever. But I also know I traveled up to the Pacific Northwest a lot for business and for work. And I know that seasonal anxiety disorder is a very real thing, that with the climate difference between the two, changing your environment can really open your eyes to something, different possibilities. But one thing that struck me in your story is that it seemed like in your struggles, there was something that you had within you that kept you seeking something other than just allowing yourself to collapse. And so when I think in terms of mental health, I think about the individual experience and I think about the environment. And what I'm curious about, in the world of everybody doing something about mental health, I want to understand if at the end goal of everything that anyone is doing around mental health, how does the environment change? Because, and I want to understand specifically for you and your environment, what was present for you that gave you a lifeline every time you came to a place where somebody might have chosen to give up? It seemed to me that you have a pattern of choosing to seek something different. And you said something very key here. You said, this is only temporary. And I want to understand where that attitude and that mentality came. from? Because it seemed like that might have been part of the lifeline that helped you keep seeking a better answer.
Yeah, that's a big reason why I'm getting better to get more of my story so that the audience, you guys, can understand who Brandon is. Because when you, at the core, if you understand more of who Brandon is, then you can make quicker connections about different ideas that I draw from whether it be my persistence, which that's one of my answers as well. My level of persistence is, like I said, I'm very competitive. I'm very driven. I'm very passionate about what I do. And there's not enough people in this world who are passionate in what they're doing. And if we are going to change the world, collectively, more people need to start asking themselves these hard questions. What am I passionate about? What gets me excited to go to work? Or what gets me excited to live life? So that would be my answer.
I'd love to connect with you, Brandon, one-on-one and just learn more about what you do and how to support what you do.
Yeah, definitely.
The last thing that I'll say is that I think selfishly for my own purposes, when I encounter leaders like yourself and what you do, one thing that I would love for you to consider is actually joining your local Rotary Club there. Because I think Rotary as a global organization is one that has a lot of reach, not just locally, but nationally and then internationally. And you have that passion for travel, and a lot of what we do is partnering with our clubs globally. And I think you would be a very influential person within the organization to introduce some of the changes and maybe inspire people to take action locally. I personally believe that what we're failing to do globally, we're failing to do globally because we're failing to do it locally. And I would love for you as a leader and the impact that you have to have an impact locally and inspire and let that spread locally and see what kind of impact that you could have that could spread through Rotary as well. So I'm selfishly inviting you to consider that, but I would love for leaders like you to be a part of organizations like ours.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, Ray, do you want to share your professional background so that maybe Brandon can understand better?
I should probably tell you that. Well, 90% of me is a dad. And so in terms of my own mental health struggles, I've struggled as an individual and then as a parent as well. But professionally, I'm a leadership and management coach, but I also work with a children's hospital here in Orange County. I love that you were in Long Beach for a long time. I love the community of Long Beach as well, in Signal Hill. So that's what I do professionally, but I'm very passionate about the impact of the workplace on mental health of adults, and then consequently what happens to kids in homes and environments where adults have challenges, and what it teaches kids ultimately. So that's where my mind is. Pleasure to meet you.
Anyone else? No?
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
So,
Brandon.
well, I want to share something. I just want to say, what you're speaking today is so relevant to me personally. I don't remember whether I shared this with you, but I am going through a radical change in my career. I've been a pediatrician for 24 years, and I quit last month after 24 years. I'm going training to become a pilot, airline pilot, because I
Wow.
feel passionate about that. Because I'm the third generation pilot in my family. Plus, there's a pilot shortage, so that doesn't hurt either. But also, your final point and being patient with yourself is so important for me to hear that right now, because I am about to take my first solo flight as a student pilot. And so far, for the last 2 weeks, I've been stalling because my landings were inconsistent. I'm very frustrated with myself, but I kept on telling myself that, hey, I remember back in medical school when I was training to be a doctor, it was not naturally, I did not have any pure talent to be a doctor. I've seen people who are naturally communicators who connect with patients very easily. I was not that person. I remember the first time I checked in someone's ears as a fellow student to practice, the otoscope went too far and it really hurt her. And I said, well, there goes my career as a pediatrician. I can't even do this simple thing. But over the years, I share with your passion to self-improvement. So I kept on doing better. And I have to say, eventually, when I finally hang on my coat, literally the stethoscope, I was a very well-respected pediatrician in the community, and I felt like I connect with every single family I talk to because I genuinely care about them and I genuinely want to do a good job. So I remind myself that, hey, I had a poor start in my medical career. So if I don't fly off right away and grease my landing every single time, that's okay.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, Les.
Yeah, you're welcome. So anyone else? Any other comments?
The last point that I'll throw out there, Brandon, is that it's probably worth mentioning that Rotary as an organization also has its roots in professional networking. So I think as a method to spread your professional network to promote your business and your initiatives, Rotary is a great way to do that. And I think your message is 100% in line with our year's goal as an organization. And so I think it's a perfect opportunity to be able to spread what you're doing.
I actually have three booked speaking engagements in the next month. So I'm talking to Bellingham's Rotary Club and then several other Rotary clubs throughout Washington.
Awesome.
And I did 2 last week as well. So I'm really excited for what the future holds and this opportunity to provide value to the world.
Yeah, because I think the speakers play a very significant role in all of this, and it's bringing awareness and being able to change the conversation. I think within Rotary, there's a large number of people who want to take action. One of the descriptions of people within Rotary are people of action. And so I think I'm thinking systemically about the next step of once people are aware and they're motivated to do something. I think giving people an opportunity to contribute or participate in a way of what can you do to make things actually better, not just for yourselves, but the people around you. And so I'm still pushing this, but selfishly, I would love for you to be involved in some way in my leader.
Awesome.
Yes. And I meant it, I'm going to gather up my material, send you the link to see whether you can be on, the panel of our district speaker board. So
yeah,
if it's okay, because like I said, we are a small club and the district much bigger, and we do have district conventions and training sessions. And it wouldn't be out of the question for the district to maybe even fly you down here so you can talk to us in person.
Yeah, I would definitely like to talk with you further with that, Les.
Okay. Amazing. Sounds great. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Les.
All right. I'm going to end the recording.
Okay.